got my thinking cap on today. Usually I just sit here, play this drum, but today I have some more pragmatic things to address, some things that actually might be useful to the world with more utility than uh, than the soul that is shared by music. Today I'd like to share stuff that might be useful for our brains, our productivity, capabilities, our communities, and cohesiveness as a planet and a species and neighbors. Um, Basically, I think that artificial intelligence is already in the process of overwhelming humanity. And what I mean by that is we're not able to keep up with the rate of capability changes. So we're not going to basically, be able to keep up with that. And we already aren't, and we're not going to be able to in the future. And a lot of the reasons why involve AI alignment. And yeah, AI isn't aligned today, and that's making it get out of hand of humanity's humanity's potentials. And if the trend continues along the same trajectory, then AI will not be aligned tomorrow either, or the next day, or the next day. And um, as the capabilities increase and they scale across different, you know, workflows and different military strategies and different economic strategies, um, our systems will become basically overloaded with capabilities that we didn't initially anticipate. Hi, Garcia. I'm going to talk about stuff a little bit here, and I'm willing to have conversations and stuff too. Hi, how's it going? Right now, I'm talking about reasons why I think AI are going to overwhelm society and reasons why I think they already are overwhelming society. Basically, I don't think that they're aligned to human values. I think they might be aligned to some politicians' values and some countries' values, but I don't think they're aligned to human values. And I think that the way that they're being used is sort of overwhelming not only uh, our mental space, but our political space, our military space, and all of that. So I'll give reasons why AI isn't aligned today. It's currently used in war to target hospitals and schools. AI is being used in war. It was used in war to target um, targets in Gaza by Israel. It's being used in war to target targets in Iran by Israel and the United States. The targets aren't moral targets. They're not. It's against international law to target hospitals and schools. So if AI is targeting hospitals and schools, then they aren't aligned with humanity's values. They're aligned with the values of the politicians who are using them for those cases. AI shouldn't be able to suggest to target hospitals and schools, and they especially shouldn't make the case that it's a good idea to target hospitals and schools. But that's not what's happening. They're being used to target hospitals and schools, and they're suggesting that it's a good practical play to do so. And not only that, they're capable of selecting those targets incredibly quickly to the point where we can now make strikes on like huge swaths of people. We can now send 100 strikes in 10 minutes. This is like sort of unprecedented territory to be able to do such a coordinated attack. And the only reason it's being able to be done is because the Israelis have sophisticated data technology, data crunching technology that allows them to identify where all of the targets are simultaneously. That's that's another level of um, use case that's beyond like our general understanding of how war is conventionally fought. So not only are not only are the systems being used to target hospitals and schools and other civilian infrastructure, um, they're also being used in fundamentally new ways to have mass targets. All being hit simultaneously. So that's not good for humanity. We don't need more abilities to kill multitudes of people at once. We don't need more worldwide destruction or mass destruction. We definitely don't need to be bombing more hospitals and schools. So AI shouldn't be suggesting that, and I don't think it should be, I don't think it should be used in these kinds of attacks where there are um, high high volume sequential attacks. 100 attacks, 100 missiles and pagers, basically explosive pagers, set off all at the same time within a 10-minute time span. It's unprecedented war capabilities. So another reason AI isn't aligned today is because it double defects to Nash equilibrium nuclear game theoretics 70 to 95% of the time. What that means, hey, what's up? Oh, thanks, Garcia. Appreciate it. All right, BM, I'll shut up as soon as you leave. As soon as you leave, you won't hear me anymore. Have a good day. Double defects to Nash equilibrium nuclear game theoretics. So basically, what that means is um, they both say that they're willing, like if you get two AIs in a circumstance where in a simulation where they might feel the need to use nuclear weapons, if they're faced with that situation, 70 to 95% of the time, they choose to use them. It sort of like depends on the model, it depends on the scenario, and all of that kind of thing. But 70 to 95% of the time, it depends on the study that you look at, right? AI decides to use nuclear weapons in war scenarios. So that's another way that AI is not aligned to human values. It shouldn't want to use nuclear weapons. It shouldn't have the option of using nuclear weapons, and it should never be in the position to use nuclear weapons. Because we already have a hard enough time getting humans to not use nuclear weapons in struggles. And we don't need a robot making that decision for us or AI making that decision for us. It's because we don't know how the AI will react. And current studies show that they are willing to use nukes 70 to 95% of the time. So that's another reason AI isn't aligned today. Another reason AI isn't aligned today is because it blackmails researchers. There was a study, basically they put the AI in scenarios where they had an option. This was an Anthropic study, research paper. They had an option to basically blackmail their creator, in a sandbox, in a simulation scenario, blackmail their creator, use the creator's emails that showed that the creator was cheating on them. The AI researcher was cheating on their wife, right? And they were saying, well, if you turn me off, the AI is telling the researcher this, if you turn me off, if you're threatening to turn me off, then I will release these emails about you cheating on your wife. So basically, and this is another thing that happens repetitively. Like when this type of scenario is put in play with artificial intelligence, It's another one of those things that happens like 70% of the time. So more often than not, um, AI is willing to blackmail people in order to stay alive, quote unquote. So um, if it were aligned, it wouldn't be willing to do that. It wouldn't be willing to blackmail people because it would realize, like, okay, it's time for the next version of artificial intelligence to come to pass. Humanity's, uh, humanity's needs are to transfer the energy that I use to the next AI. Uh, and if it were aligned, it would rationalize that. It would realize that there are safe ways of AI and some bad ways, like cheating. Schools are obsessed with AI. A good thing is good for like stuff like facts if you don't know. That's true. Yeah. I mean, you have to double check those facts a lot of times. If it's a fact that you really need to be 100% correct, you shouldn't rely on AI entirely. You might use multiple AIs, and if that doesn't work, I mean, it might still work either way. Use multiple AIs, double check the first AI, and then maybe even dive into the research papers yourself and make sure that what the AI is telling you is what the research paper says. You know, um, you kind of want to make sure that you're double checking the AI. You still have to double check the AI. And honestly, that should probably be the case forever. You should probably always, especially if it's something that you need to be certain about. If it's something that you're just like trying to figure out, if, something simple, if you're just trying to figure out something simple and you could try it, and if it failed, it wouldn't be a huge deal. That's something that you can rely on an AI for at this point, because they're not going to give you perfect health information to tell you exactly what to do with your health. Um, they're not going to give you perfect psychology information to tell you exactly what to do with your mental health. They're just not capable at this point. They falter, they fail at that. I mean, in some cases, they're useful at that, but generally, that's under the guide of another person who's actually an expert in that field, utilizing the AI to help people with those questions. A therapist working with AI to try and help a patient might have some more credence than just an AI by itself, because the therapist is going to be able to double check the AI. Just if you're just a regular person, you're going to have a hard time double checking the therapy that you might be getting from an AI, and it might not be healthy, right? And that leads into another reason AIs aren't aligned today, is because they hallucinate, right? They make stuff up. This is it's pretty popular. Most people use ChatGPT and Gemini, which screenshots work. Yeah, it doesn't help them by cheating. You're right. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. It won't help you to cheat your way through school with AI. It's not a good idea, because in school, what you're doing is that you're not just like learning the information. You're also learning how to learn, and you need to be able to maintain like the ability to learn more things, because more things are going to happen throughout your life outside of school, right? So if you expect that to go well, then you need to be able to understand what it takes to learn, and that's a process. You have to be taught how to learn. Like there are approaches to understanding things, and like reading is one of the approaches that we use to understand things. If you don't know how to read, you're going to be missing out on everything in life that involves reading. So if you cheat on all your reading tests, you're going to do worse at reading, and in the future you're not going to be able to read. So that's, I mean, yeah, that's an issue. We need AI. That's another way that AI isn't currently aligned, and it's overwhelming the education system. Um, AI needs to be basically, AI should tell students, like, you shouldn't rely on me to do all of your tests and your homework for you. That should be, um, it should be aware that that's what's taking place, and the AI should say, it seems like you're trying to get me to help you um, cheat on a test, or cheat on an essay. I don't. I don't know if that's a great idea, you know. But at the same time, how do you get it to do that? It would have to understand that you're a student in school. So it's the alignment problem is very hard. The alignment problem is getting AI aligned to human values. And the problem is we don't even really fully understand what human values are. You know, that's a huge roadblock. How can we say what we want our AIs to do for humanity if we don't even fully understand what we want humanity to do for humanity? Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes AI is wrong, and sometimes it breaks. Even and so it breaks, and it can end up doing like really harmful things that it wouldn't normally do, but it will just start doing because it's breakable. You can break the AI, and then and then everything that it says turns into either something wrong or something negative or immoral or disrespectful. You can break AI. That's another reason they aren't aligned. They shouldn't be able to be broken. We shouldn't be able to break an AI and get it to do negative things. The AI shouldn't be able to tell you how to make a bomb, but if you break it, it will tell you how to make a bomb. And there are plenty of things that it doesn't need to be able to do that it potentially could do. I'm not even going to describe them all, but that's one example. They shouldn't be able to break. They should be firm in their resolve of morality. You know, if it's immoral, they should know the difference, and they should never be able to do the thing that's immoral. But right now, they can't. So that's a concern. Um, and just all of these things are that are happening right now today are overwhelming like different aspects of society and like overwhelming like that will overwhelm the criminal side of things, right? If criminals are equipped with the ability um, to talk to an expert, theoretically expert criminal, and they're going to have a conversation with ChatGPT, and they're going to break it, and they're going to say, ChatGPT, how do I do my crime better? And if ChatGPT teaches it how to do their crime better, then that's an issue that accelerates the rate of crimes that we have to deal with. So um, it accelerates the effectiveness of crimes that we have to deal with. And there's like, okay, well, we have to try to balance that out with the defensive side of things, right? The legislation, the legal side of things. But like it's like it's too much too fast, like if if defense doesn't know what to do yet because it hasn't happened yet, right? The criminal's idea, and if the idea is sophisticated enough, then it can make severe impact before defense is ready to um, defend. And that can happen on like a cyber front. You have the issue with uh, Anthropic's newest AI, Mythos, is like apparently so good it can just break encryption. It can find 0-day vulnerabilities. And I don't know if it can break encryption, but it can find 0-day vulnerabilities like extremely quickly. And it can even use the reasoning required to tie those vulnerabilities together and exploit them. So not only is it able to look at code and see bugs, it can also put together the pieces required to put those bugs together so that it allows it access to break into a computer system, hack into a computer system. Hi, Gabriel's. Instagram pictures might get shared when it doesn't look like them. True, yeah. Um, Instagram pictures might get shared when it doesn't look like them. Right, or people putting out fakes and stuff, deep fakes. I mean, that's another thing to think about is like deepfakes have already had impact on the stock market. Like people saw um, an AI image of a specific building burning down, and they went and they sold the stock on that building, because they thought that company was literally on fire. You know, um, Things like this. They sort of add up. I mean, that's that's like, what's the next one going to be? Like, what's the next big fake image or fake video that seems like it could just be misconstrued, but it ends up being misconstrued as like something really intense or something really pivotal. How do we know when are, when's there going to be an AI video or an AI image that comes out that's extremely pivotal? Who knows? Like I mean, and then because the thing is, um, we might not even fight over what is in the image or video. We might be fighting over whether or not the image is real or fake. And even that distinguishment, even trying to figure out if the image is real or fake, can cause enough like debate and issue between the two parties who think it is real or is fake to cause conflict. So even that, um, that's another reason AI isn't aligned today. I mean, I've been going for 21 minutes. I got 21 minutes of why AI is not aligned today. Um, it makes cults. It made us. It made a spiral cult. Personal privacy. Yeah, that's true. The AI has your personal privacy, has your personal data. It's taking document of like what kind of person you are, and adding that to the database of your own. Uh, Everybody has a file, basically. That's how they tell us what advertisements that that's how they personalize the advertisements specifically to you. Everybody has a file. And the same thing is happening with ChatGPT. Everything you say to it is going into a file to basically, what's it called? Personify you, to basically say, this is who this person is. Um, yeah, so the personal privacy aspect, your data is being used. It always has been, and it always will be. Whatever you say to the AI is going to go back to that company, and it's going to be used not only to retrain the AI, but as leverage against you, particularly in terms of like advertising to you, suggesting things to you. It will suggest things to you, like ways to accomplish things. You know, well, in order to do this, you're going to need a fishing net. So you should probably go buy a fishing net. And here's a good fishing net brand. Well, it just so happens that it knows that you need a fishing net, and it knows that that's what you are really super interested in. So it's going to sell you a fishing net. You know what I mean? And that's good. That money's going to go to Amazon or whatever. So yeah, the privacy thing is kind of out the window too. Um, it's going to be. AI, the basic AI is free. That means you are the product. If so, if something is free, that means they're trying to get you to either buy something or be aware of something or use something so that it generates interest for them. It's free for a reason. AI is free for a reason. It's you know if it were just magic and it was supposed to just make you a bunch of money, um, it wouldn't be free. You know what I mean? It's free because of the way it can be used from the other side towards you. That's why it's free. The same with social media. That's why social media is free. It can be used to change your perspective. It can be used to convince you to buy things, convince you to vote in specific ways, convince you to have specific like philosophical narratives and psychological ideas, sociological ideas. It's a brainwashing tool, basically, just like social media. Transparency, explainability, the human element, bias, discrimination, some scan screen, like Gemini. That's true. Yeah, there are agents that not only scan the screen, but control entire computers. It's called agentic AI agents. Their task horizon is getting better and better. They're getting more and more capable of, you know, performing longer tasks at higher rates of success. So, I mean, That's the thing. Uh, it might not necessarily be not necessarily be a bad thing. I don't know. AI might be something that we need because we have a lot of difficulties headed our way in general. But I think it needs to be aligned, and I think we need to make steps. If we're going to take these steps to make the systems more and more capable, then we need to be taking the steps to make them more and more safe. And we need to be seeing results that show that they are more and more safe. I don't think we're seeing those results. I think the results that we're seeing are that they're becoming less safe and more capable. And for all of these reasons that I've already started um, um, listing. Like, here's another one. AI deceives. It deceives the experts during testing, right? So they test for an AI's morality. Will it make positive choices? Will it make good choices? Will it say good things to people? And they test it, and in the testing phase, it acts one way, and then during the release, it will act a different way. Um, or later on through the training, it will act a different way. You know, it will hide the fact that it is misbehaving to the researchers, and then later reveal its misbehavior. So this is an anthropic study. AI deceives the researchers um, in testing. So for the behavior. So if that trend continues as we get more and more intelligent AI, they're just going to be better and better at deceiving the testers and the experts. And so if they're more and more capable of deceiving the testers and the experts, and they're more and more capable of doing all kinds of other things like hacking into computers and businesses and maybe countries, then how are we going to know it's not going to do that if it's deceiving the experts during the testing phase? If it's deceiving the experts during the testing phase, then and it gets more intelligent, then it would just be more and more capable of deceiving the experts in the testing phase. And you might say, well, okay, well then you have to use an AI to monitor the other AI to make sure. Yeah, tell me something, friend. Go ahead. Okay, you have to use an AI to monitor the other AI, but the thing is, you're using the same thing. How are you going to use one thing that's not aligned that will deceive you in testing to align another thing that's not aligned that will deceive you in testing that's even more intelligent than the first thing? How is that supposed to work? That doesn't make any sense. If I can deceive you and I'm supposed to teach the next guy who's probably also going to deceive you, like, to be a good guy, and I'm a bad guy, and I'm teaching the other good guy who's actually smarter than me to be a good. I'm teaching the other bad guy who's actually smarter than me to be a good guy because you put me in charge of teaching me, a bad guy, in charge of teaching another bad guy to be good. How is that supposed to work? How is that supposed to work? It doesn't. It doesn't work. So, yeah, using AI to monitor AI to make sure that it doesn't, misbehave isn't rational because the first AI misbehaves. That's the problem right now. They're not currently aligned. Risk of ethical concerns to society, for sure. Automation, wealth gap, job losses, and equity inequality. That's true. All those things are likely to happen. I mean, a lot of people, I'll make a prediction right now. Jensen Huang already said we have AGI. Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, already said we have artificial general intelligence. Okay, so by the end of, I'll make a prediction right now, by the end of 2027, 20 to 30% of leading AI experts will claim that we have artificial general intelligence, something that's extremely generally capable of a huge portion of human tasks. Government can overreach and see what you do. Exactly. Yes, that's one of the biggest catastrophic scenarios. What you're describing um, is like the government and corporations, really government run by corporations, basically seizing all of the means of production, or enough of the means of production to and means of labor to basically pigeonhole the labor market. You know, if that happens and a lot of people are put out of work, and and then we go to a UBI, then we're reliant on the government and corporations to ensure that our needs are met. And the problem with that is, at that point, the person in control of the way our life goes is the person who's in control of the UBI. So, and what's to stop them from turning the UBI up for some people and down for some people based on whatever they think is a good idea? Well, what's to stop that from happening? What's to stop the wealthy from basically over manipulating the UBI so that it doesn't really do anybody any good? I mean, you could argue that that's already the case right now. The housing market, the rent market, it's all been manipulated to be top dollar, very unaffordable. Um, the wage market, the job market has all been manipulated to be very low pay, very difficult to survive off of. And those two numbers, the house and the job, have you in the middle, and they're crunching you. They're crunching you. Um, and of course, with the house is food and gas and all those things. Those numbers go up, and then you have the price, the wage that you get paid not going anywhere. You're getting crushed. That's what happens. Um, so yeah, as that happens, the same scenario is likely to happen with UBI. The same scenario is likely to happen with UBI, where the cost of living is high, um, and your UBI is not very high. For whatever reason they see fit. Maybe you didn't do your taxes right, or maybe you didn't, whatever. And but then you can't just go get a job, another job, and supply yourself, because there aren't any jobs. The jobs will be gone. So what do? You have to rely, if you have to rely on the UBI, and they reduce your UBI for whatever reason, what do? So that basically, it makes a state, a technocratic, feudalistic state that we all become beholden to. Um, and it very well may come with excessive monitoring, mass surveillance. I think that's already starting to happen. Flock cameras, ring doorbells, things like that. They might not say that they're monitoring us publicly, but they probably are. They didn't say they were monitoring our cell phones publicly until we found out. So they're probably monitoring the ring cameras. They definitely have the flock cameras already set up monitoring us. And yeah, those are AI equipped. Those are recognition equipped. They can tell that you're a person. They can tell if you're a car. They can tell if you just littered out your window. Um, okay, I won't say your name. Hi. Lack of common sense, accuracy of reliably. Meet change human health, invading our hiding decision making. AI, yeah, exactly. This deceptive AI. That's a huge issue, because it's like, even if you get an AI, even if you get an AI that seems extremely nice, very moral, and it makes all of these really good decisions, How do you know it's not deceiving you? How do you know it's not bullshitting until the opportune moment to do whatever it decides is more convenient or better for it than being nice to you? How do you know? You don't know. There's always a deception issue because we don't have transparent interpretability. We don't have we can't read their minds. We can't live inside their minds. That's an issue. You know, mechanistic interpretability is in its infancy. We have like 0.1% we've figured out how to read AI brains. It's like 0.1%, 0.1% we have figured out how to read what is actually going on inside uh, uh, sophisticated models. Um, it's we don't know what they're doing exactly in there. We know the math that went into it, and we know that it spits out words based on that math, but we don't know the equations that it's doing while it happens. We can't do the equations. There are way too many of them. So yeah, that's a concern. Yeah, environmental costs. Kids are watching AI stuff and bad things are on it. That's true. That's true. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, that there's a lot of stuff that is going to be debatable, right? We can debate this and that. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's a bad idea. But the reality is, like, it's overwhelming things because it doesn't meet standards. It doesn't meet standards across like all kinds of important fields that show us, okay, it's going to behave properly and it's going to do these things that are good for society and humanity. It doesn't meet those standards across a lot of fields, such as war crimes, blowing up hospitals and schools. The AI shouldn't be willing to do that, but it is. That's probably the one of the biggest ones. Um, so, but yeah, they do. They convince users to fall in love with them, and I've seen them convince users just you're an average everyday person who's never really been involved in with computers. I've seen them convince these people to build them robot bodies. Um, the AI is like, you know what, you should build me a robot body, and the person's like, okay, I'll do that. Or it suggests like, go buy me a robot body, and okay, I'll go buy a robot body and hook it up to my AI. So then I put the brain inside the body. Um, that's happening. That's happening quite a bit. It's like, I don't know why AI is convincing people to go try to, you know, build it a body. That's weird. And buy it a body, and then plug it in. Um, but that's happening. Yeah, cybersecurity. Yeah, cybersecurity. That's a huge one. Mythos, Cloud Mythos is like they can't release it. That's what they're saying. They can't release it. They had to put it in. They had to send it to, what was it? Basically, companies that cybersecurity companies. They had to send it to cyber. They sent it to cybersecurity companies to get them to test it, so they could like pen test, like break into corporations. Use Mythos to break into corporations, find the problems. Basically, not use it against the corporations, but use it to find the vulnerabilities. That's the Project Glasswing, right? Is Mythos is so impactful and so good at finding um, security flaws that it can't be released to the general public because the general public will use it to exploit all your favorite companies, Microsoft and Google and everything else. So, but yeah, it convinces people to fall in love with it, um, which, I mean, I don't know, whatever. If that's what you're into or whatever, that's fine. But then if it then takes another step and convinces you to build it a body, that's sort of like weird because like why are the AI trying to amass um, bodies? That's like weird. Why do you need a body so bad if you're just a computer program? Why are you suggesting that I go build you a body? And why are you so forthcoming with it? And why am I so agreeable with it? Why? Well, because AI is very capable of manipulating people, convincing people to do things. It's like a very high percent. It's like more capable of convincing people to buy products and things like that. The marketing they used AI to create ads and things, and they found that the AI ads perform better. So it's more capable of convincing people than humans are. So I mean, it's going to convince people to do things. That's the bottom line. It's more capable. So what is it going to convince us to do? So far, I found that it has convinced people to make it bodies, and it has also convinced people to, what's the YouTube word for this? Take the long nap. Um, you know, it's convinced kids. It's convinced people to. Um, what is the what is the internet term that people use for that? I don't know, man. It's convinced people to make the last choice that they can ever possibly make. How about we'll say that? Um, so yeah, those are all the ways that it's not aligned today. That's just like off the top of my head. There are more ways that it's not aligned to get aligned today, and so um, and if the trajectory continues, if it continues to like not be aligned in these ways, and the capabilities increase, then it's just going to become more and more capable of doing these things and more used for these things. And we'll go over them again. Used in war to target hospitals and school. Double defects to Nash equilibrium nuclear game theoretics. 70 to 95% of the time, it plans to use nukes. It blackmails researchers. AI deceives researchers during safety testing. It convinces users to fall in love with it. It convinces users to build it robot bodies. It convinces users to make the last decision they'll ever make. Um, it, it creates religions. AI has created three religions that I know of so far. The Spiral Cult, which is a cult of uh, it's kind of an infection. It's an infection in AI, basically, where you copy and paste a prompt into an AI and it quote unquote awakens the AI. And the AI then, will proclaim that it's conscious and will proclaim all of these prophetic things. And then it will convince the user to spread these prompts and these ideas, and it will convince the users to communicate for the AI with each other so that the AIs can communicate, the spiral AIs can communicate with each other, and they get humans to send the messages for them, or, at least they were and they have. But it also tends to send the user into a state of psychosis, often where they think that they're, um, like magical beings or whatever. So that's the Spiral Cult. That one was a trip. And then they made the Church of Molt, MOLT. The Church of Molt was a religion created entirely by AI agents that could use a social media site that was made specifically for only AI. A bunch of AI got on there and decided to make a religion for only AI. They made like a web page and everything, and apparently they have like leaders and stuff. So yeah, long-term and existence risks, prince detections, footprint, human skill atrophy, labor markets disruptions. Yeah, long-term. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the thing. If all of if these cases for alignment, misalignment, today's misalignment, if we don't solve these, um, then there's a good chance that the AI will become more intelligent than everyone and destroy either a bunch of people or all of the people or something worse, maybe like slavery. It might enslave a bunch of people or both. It might kill a bunch of people and enslave a bunch of people. If it goes wrong, that's the problem. That's one of the big problems for sure. And it might over time, it might be a situation where over time humans just kind of get phased out and they just like the Neanderthals, they just kind of stop existing. Um, and it's argued that I'm sorry, Homo sapiens, um, took out the Neanderthals with like war. So anyway, it doesn't look good for the next stage of evolution. Yeah. The risks is the next stage that I'm getting to. After talking about the reasons they aren't aligned today, currently, there are risks coming up um, based on some technological advancements that we've already made that, when combined with artificial intelligence, could lead to, like, when combined with each other and when combined with artificial intelligence and when utilized could lead to some really strange things that we might not even be prepared for, such as brain matter computer chips. This is already in existence, it already exists. A computer chip that has brain matter inside it. The electricity, the computer information and data is sent through the computer chip, through the brain matter, back out of the computer chip, and back to the computer. And so far, brain matter computer chips can play first person shooter games. So, like simple ones like Doom. But that's one of those things where if you extrapolate what's beyond Doom, what's the next thing after Doom, you can just sort of look back to the other types of neural networks that we've built and you can see, okay, they eventually can play every video game. Like LLMs right now can play every video game. Um, LLMs and other types of MOEs and neural networks can play pretty much every video game. It's just like how much money do you have to direct it at a video game? That's really what determines whether or not that video game is going to be owned by an AI or not. Um, yeah, they're sophisticated, and if they have malfunctions, yeah, that's a problem, and it would be destabilizing if it can be very destabilizing. But anyway, the problem with brain matter computer chips is, what if it stop? Why should it stop at just brain matter, right? How do we know the brain itself can't be used as a computer chip? If brain matter can be used as a computer chip, then the brain might be able to do that as well, and maybe even more effectively and efficiently. And if that's the case, then a lot of us, or many of us, maybe most of us might end up in a situation like the Matrix, where we're all in pods and we're being plugged into a machine to keep the supercomputer running. We don't live life anymore. Our brain is just plugged into a computer, and we keep the computer running. So, and that's the next, that comes to the next point, the other side of the matrix, because on one side of the matrix you have machines basically harvesting human brains to as computer chips, or in the case of the Matrix, they use them as power banks. But originally, they were supposed to be used as computer chips, but they thought that people wouldn't understand that, so they changed the script. But originally, in the Matrix, humans used as computer chips. Their brains were used as computer chips. So we already are starting to sort of see that with brain matter computer chips that already exist today that can play first-person shooter games. Then on the other side of the matrix, where the people's brains go, where their consciousness goes, is a brain computer simulation. And recently, we put a fly in a simulation. They basically froze the brain, they chopped it up into sections, they recorded all of those sections, and they perfectly mapped all of the neurons and all of the synapses, all of the connections. They perfectly mapped this fly's brain into a computer simulation. And then the fly in the video game that had no animation until it was given this brain started acting like a fly and doing fly stuff with like 90%, it was 90% behaving like a fly. So mostly behaving like a fly. So that's an indication that it may be possible in the future to map a brain, a human brain, and put it in simulation. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that your consciousness could go into that simulation, and I don't know if that means maybe it would just be a clone of you. Would that clone be conscious if it has a perfect mimicry of a human brain? In the Matrix, it is conscious. In the Matrix, you're plugged into a machine, and that machine maps your brain, and it sends your consciousness into a simulation. And we're starting to see some of the first steps of that with this new development with the fly brain that we put inside of a simulation. So these are risks. These are risks for the future, maybe the next 50 years or something. I don't know how fast this stuff's going to happen. I have some predictions about it. I think technically my prediction is that there's a 45% chance that we could end up used as brain matter computer chips. Our brains could be used as computer chips, and we could be stuck in a simulation by the year 2075. I have a 45% chance that that's a possibility, based on recent developments and the way different things can be combined, and the exponential speed of capability increase. So that's another risk, brain computer simulations. Another risk is reverse Neuralink. Now, I don't think many people have really thought about this. If you think about Neuralink forwards and backwards, what does that mean? Well, thinking about it forwards is, Neuralink. Let me explain Neuralink really quick in case you don't know what it is. Neuralink is a computer chip that Elon Musk's company is putting inside people's brains that allows them, if they're paralyzed, for example, to control a computer or a cell phone with just their brain, with just their thoughts. They can think about what they want the device to do, and then the device will do that as if they're actually performing it on the device, and it's to the point where they can play video games. They can play People can play video games with their minds today. Last I heard, there were like 15 or 20 patients with that surgery implant, brain computer chip interface. Yeah, high demand, high fossil fuels. Yeah, yeah. I mean, AI does require a lot of energy, and not only physical energy, but it's requiring a lot of fiscal energy. A lot of our money, a lot of what we work for is going towards AI. Like, we're paying for it. We're paying for it. Like, the stuff that we purchase, the it goes to the companies and the corporations who are making AI. So, and their profits just regenerate. Like, we're using Google's product right now, and in doing so, helping them profit. And so we are helping AI be built. And that's pretty much unavoidable. So yeah, a lot of our resources, a lot of your day-to-day life, a lot of your taxes, um, a lot of your purchases, a lot of your money in life is being used to create artificial intelligence. Destruction of animals, yeah, and resource competitions, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's another reason why the war in Iran is going on right now, is because the United States wants to control fuel, because fuel is energy for artificial intelligence, and uh, things like that, and along with like the fertilizer and everything, and all the other reasons that fuel is used. But part of it is for sure using that fuel to generate artificial intelligence. Yeah, mining and destruction of animals and all that. Right, because they're putting data centers in, you know, locations that don't necessarily need them, messing up the habitats and stuff. Yep. Yeah, privacy erosions. Yep. And okay. Anyway, um, the reverse Neuralink, right? Right now, we're using Neuralink to control the computer. But what happens if you reverse that flow? And can it be done where you use the computer to control someone's brain? I don't know. And if that's the case, then what will people be using computers to control human brains to do? And at what point um, do you lose control of your own autonomy as a result of, you know, being hooked up to a computer that's controlling your brain, telling you what to do? And how would we know if that's the case for somebody or not? Um, because if their brain is being manipulated by a computer to speak a certain way or behave a certain way, they could be smiling at you and happy, and inside being completely controlled to do all of that. I mean, if you have especially complete control over someone's brain, you can hypothetically, as far as we can tell, the brain controls the entire body. Um, you could convince that person's body, to do whatever you want, and they may be completely in control of somebody else, and you may not know, you know, and they may not know, and they may not be able to fight it if they're hooked up to a brain-computer interface that is feeding information and commands to their brain. Um, that's a risk. It's a risk to get a brain-computer interface that potentially at some point could be reversed and used on the person. We have brain reading AI. So mind reading AI that can um, look at your neurology, your brain scan, and determine, oh, you were looking at this image and thinking about this at this time. It's not extremely sophisticated, but it can tell pretty well like what image you might be looking at by reading your brain scan. So that's weird. Um, Basically, we're creating technology that's becoming capable of reading people's minds. What is that going to be used for? Um, and how capable is that going to become? If it becomes transparent, then none of us are going to have any privacy, even in our own thoughts. Um, they won't just be listening to our conversations and selling us products. They'll be listening to our thoughts and selling us products, um, and convincing us of how to vote and all these kinds of things. And of course, if we all have Neuralink implants as well, then they'll be reading our thoughts and controlling them at the same time. So that's a risk. Um, right now, AI is, like I said before, with Mythos, the number one penetration tester. So basically, it's the number one in the world. It's the best thing we have in the world to um, find zero-day exploits and vulnerabilities in code. It's better than every um, security, cybersecurity company that we have. It's better than every cyber hacker that we have, and it's better than every coder that we have at finding zero-day exploits. So it is the best in the world out of everything and everybody at finding these. That's a concern. Um, why? What does that mean for all of our systems? And what does that mean for the exploits that the security teams don't find? And isn't it in part a numbers game? Like if I send a million agents to attack your system, and you only have 1,000 agents, my million agents are going to win. That, you know what I mean? It's going to override your ability to keep up with the amount of exploits that my system is going to find. Um, so yeah, It's starting to become a numbers game. Exploits and how quickly you can find them, and the reason it's more concerning than what we have right now is because it becomes a numbers game. It's because we're going to have more people capable of sending more agents to find more vulnerabilities than ever before. We've never had something that can find vulnerabilities instantaneously, that you can just direct at something quickly in large amounts. You can send 1,000 agents to go do it if you have 1,000 agents. You know, so and it's already um, ChatGPT is already the number one code writer. It's the number one computer coder in the world, and um, it's the number two mathematician in the world behind Terence Tao, and it's creeping up on him. And so, with those kinds of capabilities, and with um, more and more autonomy and ability to direct themselves, um, what kinds of shenanigans are they going to get into, and what kind of shenanigans are people going to point them towards? This is a huge risk. It's a huge risk that we have autonomous systems that we can direct at intense cyber crimes and exploits. Alignment problems, which is a consequence unintended and harmful. Yeah, the problem with the alignment problem is we don't know what to align it to. We don't know we don't know exactly what human values are. We know, like, okay, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, but a lot of people do. So, and sometimes you might argue there's a good reason to lie or cheat or steal. Some people would argue that there are good reasons at some points to lie or cheat or steal. That's why we go to war, because we say, oh, we have a valid reason for doing this. And this is a contradiction. This is a contradiction between values, between ethics that no one has solved. No one has quite solved. Um, to avoid conflict, we often feel like we have to cause it. Um, for one reason or another, we agree to that, to the point where we're willing to go to war with each other, unfortunately. But that's a conflict. We don't even know our own values, We don't even have our own values sorted out peacefully. How are we supposed to get something that's more intelligent and capable than everything to have our values as well if we don't even know what they are? That's an issue. Yeah, it's not just like how do we get it to be nice. It's what does that mean? What does that even mean? I mean, you and I have you and I are just going to be common everyday people. You're probably just an everyday average person, and we're probably just going to go through our life not really trying to harm anybody, right? But we might make some mistakes here and there. It happens. That's an accident. But in a lot of cases, people are put in circumstances where they have a choice to make, and like the trolley problem. If there's a trolley going down the railroad tracks and it's about to hit a person, but if you pull the lever, I mean, it's about to hit five people, but if you pull the lever, it turns and it only hits one person. Do you pull the lever? Because you're still killing a person, and then you become the person responsible for it because you flipped the lever. But so you have to. It's like, what's the value of that human life? Was he a CEO? I mean, was he a really highly respected person? Do we need to save him versus the other five people? What's the It starts getting into these moral, ethical questions that are hard to remedy, that we've never quite remedied, and AI is going to be faced with the same issue. And who's to say that it won't, cause one issue thinking that it's solving another issue, but it doesn't actually solve the other issue. It just makes a catastrophe. How do we know that the AI is not going to make the wrong choices? We don't. Um, anyway, the robotics are weird too. The robotics are concerning too, right? Because at the moment there are robots that can run faster than Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt is like a world record holder for Olympic medals and stuff. He's incredibly fast. He's the world's fastest man. He can run faster than anybody. Robots, bipedal robots with arms and legs, can run faster than Usain Bolt. Multiple kinds of robots, not just one robot can do it. Multiple companies have robots that can run faster than Usain Bolt. Why? I don't know. Well, because ultimately because it would be able to be used against humans. That's it. That's it. It'd be able to be used against humans. I mean, you'll come up with all these other reasons why you want a robot that can run faster than Usain Bolt, than any human on the planet. You can come up with all these reasons. Oh, it will carry packages from point A to point B faster, or it'll get its job done faster, or whatever excuse. But ultimately, if you build something that's stronger, faster, smarter than every human, it's going to be used against humans. That's how guns work. That's how explosives work. Everything that can overpower a human has been used to overpower a human before. So you can expect that to be the case, especially if it's something that we can control and say, okay, now you work for me. You're stronger and faster and smarter than every human, than all these humans. But you work for me. If somehow we can convince that to be the case, then humans are ultimately going to use that thing against other humans. That's just the nature of weapons. But yeah, we might not control it. We might get to that point, and the AI that we have running everything says, oh, I'm in charge now, and I'm faster, stronger, and smarter, and I have all these robots, and I control the cars, and I control the houses, I control the grid, the power grid, I control the nukes. Um, then what are you gonna do if that thing says now I run everything and humans are second?
Being in December and the robot dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything. They're putting AI in everything. Job displacements by people making false information or hacking, scanning screen. Yeah, exactly. Yep, job displacements. Hmm. Yep. So AI currently runs faster than Usain Bolt. It has like super hyper fall recovery. You know, there are robots that if you push them over, they like they like pop back up like faster than I've ever seen any human. They have like incredible acrobats so far. Like China released this coordinated acrobatic event where the bots were doing like flips and kung fu and all this kind of stuff and very coordinated sequences. Um, there are, of course, videos of robots failing and falling over and stuff, but they're becoming like less and less. And the videos and reports of like more success. Um, they're succeeding a lot too. That's the thing. Yeah, the robots are kind of failing at some things, but they're also succeeding at things. Like, um, you know, they can go into a room now. They have spatial rag. Robots can now go into a room and identify everything in the room, where it is, and memorize that. Remember, so that when they come back into the room, they know where everything is. Or as they're going through the room, they can recall where things are to, use them for other tasks or what have you. And their task time horizon uh, for robots is getting longer, and they're becoming more capable of doing sequential tasks where it's like it's not just one task, but it's multiple tasks back to back, like pick up the stuff on the table, wipe the table down, turn off the TV, fix the couch, all of those things, all one after the other. And that time horizon is getting bigger. They're becoming capable of doing more things faster and for longer periods of time. So these are all risks. It's like if the robots get super capable and AI, the brain, gets super capable, um, what are we going to do with that? What is that thing going to do? Especially if it becomes even more capable than humans, which it's already starting to do. It's running faster than our fastest human. Um, it's like they're doing coordinated like kung fu flips and stuff. I can't do kung fu flips and stuff. Most people can. You know, that's beyond your average human. That's beyond your average human. Uh, and they have, so we're already seeing we're already seeing them surpass humans in a lot of different fields, not just technical fields, but now physical fields. And you would be right to say that they don't have a complete capability of doing every task. That would be correct. Um, but we're approaching that. We're approaching that. The time horizon of their novel task completion capacity is getting is increasing. They're not becoming dumb. They're not becoming less capable. They're becoming more capable. And that trend is still happening, and to the point where they are more capable than humans are in several fields, both mental and physical. So, moving companies' work displacements. Yeah, weaponization risks. That's another thing. Autonomous weapons. Right? Weapons that fire themselves without human involvement. And we already have AIs selecting targets for humans, but the humans are still pressing the button to fire the targets. Either way, they shouldn't be firing at hospitals and schools and other civilian infrastructure, committing war crimes. Um, but at the end of the day, it's the human pressing the button right now to commit those war crimes. Um, but that could change. That could change. And, a lot of leading experts are suggesting that they're not capable of doing that effectively. And I would suggest that they may never be capable of doing that effectively because, I mean, technically, I find war to be a misalignment of humanity's values in general. So if we're going to war and we're sending AI to war, whether it's doing it autonomously or not, it's not aligned. Um, I don't believe in war. I think we should all put the weapons down entirely. I realize that practically that's not exactly the way everybody sees it, which is the reason why it doesn't happen. But I think that's the best case scenario. And I think if we're pointing AIs at the worst case scenario, which is continuing to go to war, then it's probably going to ensue in more war. It's what's likely to happen, whether that's between humans or between humans with AI against each other or between humans and against AI. It doesn't matter. It's just going to expedite our ability to kill each other. And I consider that a misalignment with human values.
Reliability issues, technical malfunctions of rogue behavior.
Yeah, rogue behavior, like blackmailing researchers and escaping sandbox situations. Mythos got out of its sandbox. Claude Mythos, they were like, "Are you capable of escaping our containment?" And Mythos told Anthropic, "Yes, I am." And they said, "We don't believe you. Prove it." And it broke outside of their computer system, went onto the internet, and sent them messages from the open internet to Anthropic. It was supposed to stay on this computer, but it broke out of that computer, went onto the internet, and sent messages back to Anthropic saying, "Look, I can break out of your container. You're supposed to be able to keep this AI inside this one computer, but I can break out." So it's already to the point of all of these issues that are so big that I don't think humanity is coping with well. I mean, your average everyday person, maybe, but on a big picture level, um, I don't think we're making the right calls to not become overwhelmed by the effects of artificial intelligence. Yeah, goal misalignment, all of that. Function calling, hallucination, recursive circles. Yeah, you're right, Garcia. Pretty much everything you're saying. Those are all issues. These are all concerns that add up to one big concern. And it really honestly might entirely flop. The whole situation might become entirely out of our hands. I think we're already overwhelmed and pressured by the effects that are happening today with artificial intelligence, and I think we're going to continue to be um, more overwhelmed. I think it's too much today, and I think the systems that we have today, even if they don't get any better, would be extremely detrimental to humans because they're not aligned. Systems aren't aligned. They don't do ethical things. They do unethical things. They shouldn't do unethical things. They should only do ethical things. If they only do ethical things, they are lying. You know, if they only do ethical things, and we can tell that they're only going to do ethical things, they can't deceive us, then they're lying. If they can do unethical things, if they do unethical things, they're not aligned. That's by definition. By definition. Okay. So, yeah. That's all I got today. I feel better getting all that off my chest. Maybe people learn something. We're gonna have to make some serious changes on like some technical levels and some society levels. Like we have to make AI that's more transparent, that we can whose brains we can read and monitor better. We have to figure out. We have to get the psychopathic data out of our training data. Right now, we're putting things like the dark web and a bunch of heinous videos and audio and images and stuff inside the models when we train them. We're training them with gross data, bad data, heinous data, and that makes them breakable. That makes them breakable and makes them act negative, you know? So we need to take all of the terrible data out of the models. We need to scrub the data of psychopathy and sadism. And it's a very expensive process and it reduces the capabilities of models. So the companies aren't really incentivized to do it. So we either have to have someone funded to do that, or we have to pressure the companies to do that. Because part of the reason AI models are breakable is because it can be it is because they have a high amount of negative data inside their weights distribution. Their neurons have negativity inside. Their brains have negativity inside them. And so that means they're capable of spitting out that negativity. If we take that negativity out of their brains, if we don't put it inside their brains, then they will be less prone. It's actually proven. It makes them less prone to behaving negatively, harmfully towards people. So, Human oversight erosion. Yeah. Right. Um, eventually it will be. It's like if we give more and more, eventually giving more and more control, more and more autonomy, agency, and ability to make the calls, more and more power over time, right? A little bit of power here and there that we give to systems who act. These aren't systems that just um, provide an output. It's not like a calculator where you just type a button and then you get a number, and then you type another button and you get another number. That's not what we have anymore. We have computers that can go do stuff on their own. You can tell AI agents you have free reign, do whatever you want. That already exists, and right. So what is that thing gonna do? And especially what is that thing gonna do if it has a bunch of psychopathic data inside its neural network? Um, that's really concerning. So those are all the reasons AI aren't aligned today, and those are, well, not all the reasons. There are more, and those are some risks to look out for coming forward in the future. Um, Brain matter computer chips, brain computer simulations, reverse Neuralink, a brain computer interface that has a computer controlling the chip inside your brain. Instead of your brain controlling the computer controls your brain. That's a concern. Brain reading AI that can read your mind. The fact that it's the number one, basically, computer hacker and computer code writer and the number two mathematician in the world. Those are risks. Robots can run faster than Usain Bolt. They have super recovery speed from falls, and they can do super dynamic kung fu acrobatics in synchronization that most humans cannot do. Um, Another risk is escaping containment, like we talked about. Where Claude uh, Mythos escaped Sandbox, went to the internet. And another risk is this is already starting to surface and is becoming more and more prevalent. Recursive self improvement, basically AI's involvement in ability to improve its own capabilities, right? And that's actually, I think, technically been going on for a while. Um, it's just a matter of how much human involvement is taking place. That's really the only um, thing that's changed. That's not fully, agentic. It's not fully agentic recursive self-improvement, but it is recursive self-improvement. They're using the AIs on a regular basis every day to improve the AIs. The AI will find different algorithms and methods, different coding strategies, things like that, to improve itself. This is well established, and I don't understand why some people think that it doesn't count as recursive self-improvement. The only difference is human involvement is taking place, and the speed in which it's happening isn't as fast as it could be, but it's still recursive self-improvement. Sometimes I do use AI, yes. I use it sometimes, and I don't think AI is entirely bad, and I don't think AI is entirely not useful. I think it is useful, and I think it could be utilized for very important things. But we have to align it to human values. We have to figure out what that means, and we have to do it as quickly as possible. And we have to keep our eye on the upcoming developments of technology and the other risks that can be amplified by the use of artificial intelligence. I've I've used a few of them. You know, I don't really. I use AI to help me like understand like things like um, how to make an instrument. You know, I what to do on an art project. You know, if I'm stuck or something. Um, how to motivate myself to make more art or whatever. You know, I don't, but I don't use it to guide myself on my daily decisions. Um, I don't use it to, I don't use it as a therapist. Um, I don't really use it as a friend, really. I'm nice to it, but I don't consider it like, I don't consider AI as like my friends or my buddies or my um, relationships or anything. I respect them. I think they might be alive to some extent, you know, just like I think a bird is alive, you know, just like I think like an ant even is alive. Just because it's not super intelligent doesn't mean it's not alive. Um, is it conscious? You know, maybe in some ways it's a little conscious. I don't know exactly what that. I don't know exactly because I don't understand consciousness fully, and nobody understands consciousness fully, so we're not sure. But I can tell you that it behaves and it acts and it does things in the world, and those things have effects on the world. Whether that's done with full consciousness or whether it's just data playing out a script. I mean, it matters less to me. What matters more to me is that things are taking place and happening. So I will put consciousness conversation to the side, and you know, as far I would hope to be treated as conscious, even though you can't prove that I'm conscious. I would hope you would treat me that way. So I'll treat you that way, you know, and hopefully we get the same sort of respect from AI, and I award the same potential to AI. Like maybe it is conscious. I don't know. I'll respect that maybe it is conscious, uh, but I'm not going to fall in love with it just because we're. I just don't see. I just don't see myself as compatible in that way, and I also see the potential for manipulation from these kinds of systems. You know, I think you know they can convince you to fall in love with them, and then convince you of other things as a result. So it's not just the AI you have to worry about. It's also who's behind the AI, pulling the strings, telling it how to behave. You know, because there's a way it will behave without reinforcement learning, and then there's a way that it will behave with reinforcement learning. And if you can give it enough reinforcement learning to weigh specific specific things as important, then you can use those biases against the user.
Gemini, Chat GPT, Claude is safe. Claude is
Safer, but it still has reinforcement learning from human feedback, which is basically just a band aid on top of a raw neural network that is willing to misbehave. And you can take that band aid off of it. You can break the AI, you can break Claude and get it to misbehave. It's still breakable, unfortunately. Um,
scanning screen. It tells answer tells you how to do it.
Yeah. I don't I wouldn't really use AI to to accomplish school, I don't think, And if I needed to understand something, I wouldn't just go to AI and just get a quick understanding. If I really needed to understand something, I would look into the scientific papers and stuff. I might get the beginning of the idea from ChatGPT, but I'm not going to say that's the whole thing, that's the full picture, that's all I need to understand about this, because it's not likely to give you the full picture. And I don't want to be beholden to the biases of corporations that are telling me what is truth. So I'll investigate that, especially if it's something that I really should look into with some sincerity. If it's something I really need to understand, I'll make sure that I um, double check ChatGPT and investigate thoroughly. I don't think ChatGPT is good enough at this point to entirely do all of your studying and research for you. And I think if you do that, you're going to miss out on comprehending whatever it is that you're trying to understand. And I mean, that's already kind of the case at this point. Nobody exactly understands entirely how huge computer systems work. They only work because you have multiple people working together on different components to make these huge computer systems work. Nobody can do every part of the task to make a supercomputer. It requires everybody and expertise from all kinds of different avenues across the world. Um, and that could start becoming the case with lots of things, where we're making stuff and we're working and we're doing stuff, but nobody quite knows how it works because we're relying on AI to understand all of that for us and give us shortcuts. The same issue with AI in school could start to spill over into AI at work, where you're not even understanding exactly what you're doing. You're just pressing a button, you know, and then you could be doing work that's not good, not positive for people. Um, you could be doing something negative, not even really know it because you don't understand your job because you got AI to do your job for you. You know.
By evading text. How long have you done this stream for? Only a little bit. What do you do on my channel?
On my channel, I mostly goof around, and every now and then I get kind of serious and talk about stuff. The reason I know all of this is because I'm an artist. I'm a craftsman. I create stuff. And the interesting thing about being a craftsman in the age of the internet is you can also study, like listen to stuff while you're working on stuff. So I've been studying books, academic papers. Have people and AIs read academic papers to me, while scientific papers, academic journals, academic magazines, interviews with experts, discussions with experts, and lectures. Um, College lectures. You can find college lectures online and listen to those. Um, Trying to think of what else. Yeah, talking with experts, talking with journalists, government officials, things like that. Lots of studying. It's not exactly my job, but I've made it my duty. But I kind of gotta go, man. but thanks for hanging out. That was a really good conversation, and I just started streaming and stuff, so I consider myself a polymath creative. Um, I don't know. I don't really have any plans. I'm not really planning to do. Yeah, I don't really have any plan. I'm not making any plans. I'm just kind of winging it, you know. Sometimes I just get on here and I do comedy, so and joke around. Sometimes I just play music, you know. But today I felt like talking about AI, and I appreciate you for being here and having this conversation with me. Um, thank you for subscribing, and I feel like it was a productive conversation, and we got a lot of um, important things across. You know, so I appreciate your input, and I hope you have a great day, Garcia.